Hi guys, this is another video by Darklink Does Math. The content in this video is geared towards 6th grade math standards. These videos are public so that my students may access this information easily, as well as anyone else looking for math help. I hope you find this video helpful. If you do not, I hope you find what you are looking for elsewhere. There's a lot of information out there. Be aware that I'm not perfect, so there may be the occasional mistake. I apologize in advance if this should happen. So today we're going over lesson 6.1, Understanding Percent. Specifically, we're going over a few problems of how to find a percent or how to convert a percent to a decimal or a percentage to a fraction. So our first and only definition or vocab term is percent. Percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. So anytime you compare a number directly to 100, you have yourself a percent. Example. Say I have the fraction 45/100ths, or I have 45 to 100. Both of these can be expressed as 45%. So what does this mean? Well, let's say you look at the fraction 45/100ths. This could represent the fraction of students in a grade that have an A. So let's say there are 100 students, and I say 45 out of those 100 have A's. I could say 45% of the students have an A. So it's just a way of expressing a number in a different way. All right, we're going to go over our first very important rule, how to change a fraction to a percent. There's a couple different ways you can do this, but our primary rule is if you want to change a fraction to a percent, you multiply the fraction by 100. Multiply your fraction by 100. Works every time. Now, are there other ways you could do this? Yes. Doesn't work as great, doesn't work on everything easily. So this will work easily every time. But sometimes you can multiply the numerator and denominator by a number that will make the denominator $100. So if you look at your fraction and you are able to multiply both numerator and denominator by something that will make the denominator, the bottom number, 100, you can do that. But ultimately, your primary rule to change any fraction to a percentage, multiply that fraction by 100. So here's a few practice problems. Our first one says 72 out of 100 cats are long-haired cats. What percent of the cats are long-haired cats? So first, I'm going to look at my primary question. What percent? When it says what percent, we are creating a percentage out of thin air. Notice I don't see any other percentages anywhere, so we're making a percent. When you want to make a percent, you're first going to have to start with a fraction. And once you have a fraction, you can convert that fraction to a percent using the rule we just went over, fraction to percent. So our question is a what percent problem. All right, what percent of the cats are long-haired? Okay, so let's begin our fraction. The top number of a fraction is typically your part, and that part is the thing or what you want. What you want to know about. The bottom number typically represents the total. So, what do I want? I want to know what percent are long-haired. It's all about long-haired cats. So, our numerator will represent long-haired cats. Our denominator, total. Total what? This problem is about cats. So, this is going to be total cats. Now, I just need to find my information and put it in the appropriate place. How many are long-haired? It says 72 out of 100 are long-haired. So 72 is my numerator. What's the total number of cats? It says 72 out of 100 cats. So it's implied that there are 100 cats total. All right, I have 72 out of 100. I'm going to convert it to a percent. My primary rule says I can multiply it by 100. My secondary says I just need to multiply both top and bottom number by something that will make the denominator 100. You'll notice my denominator is already 100. So I'm going to apply this rule. This rule basically says I'm finished already because the denominator is already 100. So 72 out of 100 is 72%. So what percent are long-haired? We're going to say 72% of the cats are long-haired. Now, why did I just convert 72 out of 100 to 72%? Again, this was because the denominator is 100. So again, because the denominator is 100, the numerator is your percent. All right, our next problem. A fruit display of 50 apples has 43 green ones. What percent of the apples are green? So our question is, what percent are green, essentially? So what percent means you're going to create a percentage. You're going to make a percent from scratch. To do that, we're going to start with a fraction. What goes on top, our numerator, it's what you want to know about. This is what percent are green. So our fraction is all about green. Bottom is total. Total what? We're talking about apples. So what's the total number of apples? It says a fruit display of 50 apples has 43 green ones. So it's implied that 50 is our total, but I'm skipping ahead. Again, I should have total apples. And then let's put that in. So again, total apples is 50 apples. And then what I want is green, and I've already answered that as well. 43 green. So I have 43 out of 50. All right, we're going to convert this to a percent because the question says what percent are green? That's not a percentage, that's a fraction. So we're going to do it two different ways. Let's use our primary rule, which says to convert a fraction to a percentage, we're going to multiply your fraction by 100. So 43 50ths, we're going to multiply by 100. All right, calculator time. Note about this calculator. If you have this type of calculator, it is recommended that periodically you clear the memory. To do that, push on and clear at the same time, and you'll notice memory cleared shows up. That keeps anything weird programmed, out of it. All right, so anyways, we're going to multiply 43 50ths by 100. To do that with this calculator, we're going to type in 43, the ABC button, You'll notice it puts a little backwards L. Then 50. So we have 43/50. That's our fraction. We're going to multiply by 100. And we're going to push equals. And we get 86. 86 what? We were doing what percent? So be sure to now put your percent symbol on there. That's one way to do it. Again, using the primary rule of multiplying any fraction by 100, we'll convert it to a percentage. All right, now let's do it the other way. The other way states that if you're able to multiply the numerator and denominator by a number that will make the denominator 100, you can do that. So I notice that 50 times 2 will equal 100. So I multiply 43 by 2, and I get 86. Because I'm comparing 86 to 100, 86, the numerator, would be my percentage. So both ways work pretty quickly. All right, what is our answer? What percent are green? We're going to say 86% of the apples are green. Now, what does this mean? 86% of the apples are green. It doesn't mean I have 86 apples. We obviously only have 50. It means if I had 100 apples, 86 of them would be green. But I don't have 100 apples. I only have 50 apples. So only 43 are green. It's just a way to compare or look at numbers. So think of 100% as all. By saying 80% of my apples are green, I'm saying almost all of the apples are green because 86 is pretty close to 100. It's not quite there, but it's getting there. All right, third example. Of 2,000 people at a concert, 240 are teachers. The rest are students. By the way, when a question says the rest are something, you're probably going to need to calculate that. What percent of the people at the concert are students? So what percent are students? This is a what percent problem, meaning we need to make a percent out of thin air. So we're going to start with a fraction. The top is what I want. What do I want? I want to know what percent are students. The bottom is the total. Total what? We're talking about people. So total people. All right, let's find students. 2,000 people, 240 are teachers, rest are students. See, we are going to have to calculate that. So we're going to take our total, 2,000. We're going to subtract 240, the teachers. Let's get rid of them. So I could do this in my head, but I just have a calculator, so it's just fun to use. So 2,000, we're going to subtract 240, and we get 1,760. So let's fill in our fraction. Students, there are 1,760 students. What's the total number of people? 2,000. All right, I have a fraction. I don't want a fraction. I want a percentage. So we're going to do this both ways. We're going to convert our fraction to a percentage. Let's use the primary rule first, which states to change a fraction to a percent, multiply by 100. So 1,760 over 2,000. We're going to multiply by 100. So 1760, ABC button is your fraction bar, and then 2,000. So there's our fraction, 1760 over 2,000. We're going to multiply by 100, and we get 88. percent, because this was what percent. Once you multiply a fraction by 100, it becomes a percent. All right, let's do that the other way. 1760 over 2000. I want to know, how do I turn 2000 into 100? Well, I know if I divide 2000 by 2, I get 1000. And 1000 divided by 10 is 100. So that means 2000 divided by 20 is 100. And you can check yourself. 2000 divided by 20 is indeed 100. So we're going to do that to the numerator as well. 1760, divide by 20, we get 88. And we knew we should because we've already technically done this problem. Because I'm comparing 88 to 100 directly, 88 is my percentage. So this fraction has now completed its journey to percent form. These two numbers, again, are the same thing. They just look different. Instead of saying 1,760 out of 2,000 people are students, I could just say 88% of the 88% of the people at the concert are students. And that's our answer. 88% of the people are students. Again, what does this mean? Percents are numbers or ratios that compare something to 100. So this means if I were to have 100 people at that concert, 88 of them would be students. So another way to look at it would be 100% represents everyone. 88 is pretty close to 100. So I could say almost all of the people are students. That's what this percentage of 88% means. All right, moving on. Write 3/8 as a percent. Now, which rule would I use? Which one would work best? Multiplying by 100 or multiplying the numerator and denominator by something that will make the denominator 100? I don't know how to make 8 turn into 100 easily. So we're going to use the primary rule. It always works. Super simple. So to change a fraction to a percent, multiply it by 100, and every time it will make its journey to a percent. So let's do that. 3/8. So 3, ABC, 8. Multiply by 100 equals, now it says this weird stuff, 37 u 1/2. Well, the calculator doesn't know how to separate 37 1/2. Otherwise, it's going to look like 371 over 2. So that little u means and, by the way. So what does this mean? It means 37.5%. So 3/8 as a percent is 37.5%. So not quite 38%, more than 37%, so it's 37.5%. So yes, you can have fraction percentages. You could also write this as a decimal, 37.5%. Either one would be acceptable. All right, we have two more very important rules to go over. Conversion rules. How to change a percent to a decimal and a percent to a fraction. So you'll remember on the previous side, we were changing our number to a percent, and that was multiplying by 100. Now we're changing the percentages to fraction or decimals. So in other words, we're going in the opposite direction. The opposite of multiply is divide. And you'll see that in these rules. All right, first, changing a percent to a decimal. Your primary rule, your only rule basically, is to move the decimal two place values left. Now, what does it mean to move a decimal two place values left? It means to divide by 100. So you could technically divide a number by 100 and it's going to do this right there. But why bother dividing something if you can simply move a dot? All right, our second rule. How do you change a percentage to a fraction? Well, percentages are always based out of 100. So if you place your number over 100, voila, you have yourself a fraction. But don't forget, you must always simplify fractions. So, place number over 100 and simplify. And don't forget that placing a number over 100 is the same thing as dividing by 100. So, you'll notice, to change a percentage to a decimal or fraction, you're essentially dividing by 100. To change a fraction to a percentage, you multiply by 100. So they are complete opposites. All right, let's do some practice problems. Our first practice problem, we're going to express 24% as a fraction in simplest form, always, even if it doesn't say simplest form. So 24%. Our rule says we're changing it to a fraction. Place your number over 100. So I'm going to place 24 over 100. Voila, it's a fraction. But I'm not finished. You must simplify. Now, I could do this pretty easily in my head. I could divide by the GCF, which I know is going to be 4. 4 goes into 24, and 4 goes into 100. And I would get 6 over 25. Now, how would that look in using a calculator? Well, I have my 24 100ths, which I would type in 24, ABC, 100, and then I push equals. That's it. It simplified it for me. That was nice. So, if I wanted to use a calculator, again, all you have to do is type in your number, 24 100ths, and you push equals. And it will simplify it for you. Be aware that some numbers calculators don't really like, and it will not work as nice every time. Just be aware of that. Meaning you may have to do something a little bit more by hand. All right, so anyways, I put it over 100, I simplified it, 6/25 is our answer. So 24% is the same thing as 6 out of 25. So this could be like, let's say you had 25 slices of pizza and someone ate 6 out of 25 slices of pizza. You could say they basically ate 24% of the pizza. Next problem. Express 24% as a decimal. So I have 24%, and our rule says to change a percent to a decimal, I move the decimal 2 place values left. So essentially, this has 2 steps. First, locate the decimal. If you're going to move a decimal, you have to know where it is. Second, once you know where the decimal is, move it. All right, let's do that. So 24%. Let's get rid of the percent sign because it's becoming a decimal. I'm going to locate the decimal. All whole numbers have a decimal right up their backside. All right, and now I'm going to move it 2 times the left. I'm going to divide it by 100 essentially. So once, twice, it's now in front of the 2, not behind the 4 anymore. So it becomes 0.24 or 24 hundredths. So 24% is the same thing as 24 hundredths. These are the two same thing, like they're the same numbers, they just are written differently. Kind of like if I said, someone ate half of my pizza. That's the same thing as saying, someone ate 0.5 of my pizza. 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2. So all of these numbers mean the same thing, they're just written in different forms. All right, next problem. We're going to express 122% as a fraction. My computer's making sounds. All right, 122% as a fraction. There are two different ways to do this because our percentage is over 100. So let's go with the primary rule. The primary rule that says to change a percent to a fraction is to put it over 100 and simplify it. So let's do that. 122 over 100. Voila, it's a fraction. But I need to simplify it. One way, use your calculator, if you have one. 122, ABC, 100, and I push equals. It has simplified it for me. That's 1 and 11 over 50. How would I do this by hand? I would have to do 122 divided by 100. 100 will divide into 122 one whole time. And then there would be 22 left over out of 100, which would simplify to 11 out of 50. So I'm going to kind of show that a little bit over here. So I have 122%. Anytime you have a number over 100% and you want to change it to a fraction, break your numbers apart. So the 100 becomes one whole. The 22 part becomes 22 out of 100. So if you were to do long division, 122 divided by 100, you're going to come out to this answer. Then I would simplify it. I can type in 22 100ths and simplify it that way. Or I could do it by hand. I know that 2 will divide into both 22 and 100, which becomes 1 and 11 out of 50. So multiple ways to do this. Again, primary rule always works the fastest. Place it over 100 and simplify. All right, so we're going to make a note of what we just did right here. When you have a number over 100%, separate number as shown. So I have 122%, it's over 100, so I separated it. I took the 100 and turned it into the one whole. The 22 portion becomes 22 out of 100. Works every time. And then you can simplify from there. Last example. We're going to change 120% to a decimal. Our rule says to change a percent to a decimal, move the decimal 2 place values left. So first we have to locate our decimal. 120 is a whole number. Yes, it could start out as a decimal percentage. For example, 37.5% is still a percentage because I see a percent symbol. So you look at where your decimal is. This just happens to be a whole number. So the decimal is right on the back side. We're going to move it 2 times left. That's the same as dividing by 100. You want to see? 120 divided by 100. Oops. done messed up. Let's do that again. 120 divide by 100. See, the decimal moved. It's now between the 1 and the 2. All right, so what does this become? 1.20 or 1.2 as you see in the calculator. Calculator is usually not going to write unnecessary zeros or insignificant zeros. I mean, why write something if it's not needed? But anyways, our answer is 1 and 2/10 or 1 and 20 hundredths. So 120%, that means you have over 100% of something. You know, like if you made 120% on a test, you'd be super happy, right? That means you got one whole of the test correct, like 100% of everything that the teacher expected you to get correct, plus 20% extra that you weren't necessarily expected to get correct. Maybe there are super challenging problems. So one whole with a little bit of extra. All right, I hope this has helped finding percents and converting percents to decimals, percents to fractions, and fractions to percents. If it has not, there's a lot of information out there. I hope you can find what you were looking for. Y'all have a great day.